Welcome to my top 50 board games of all time. I have played over 150 board games and these are my absolute favorite. On this list there are party games that take only 20 minutes to play, and there are also massive Euro games that take 2+ hours. If this video does well, I'd love to do more board game content in the future, so please like and subscribe if that's something that you want to see. Now let's get on to the list. Number 50, Codenames. This is a classic game that I recommend every household has. You play in teams and try to creatively create one-word clues to connect your words on the table. I love the team aspect of this game. It's so easy to pick up and play with any group of people, and there's always great moments of teamwork. Number 49, A Game of Thrones, the board game. A huge game filled with negotiation, hidden actions, tons of combat, and backstabbing. Definitely not for the faint of heart. You must be okay with creating enemies during the game and returning to friends after the game. The best part about this game is telling the story of Game of Thrones. And yes, I will sacrifice everything to have the Greyjoys control King's Landing. Number 48, Aquatica. This is a card playing and drafting game where you are trying to become King of the Sea. The best part about this game is the combos. Everything you draft and play will be building to that one turn where you get to activate your entire engine in one huge combo. Number 47, Detective Club. A party game where everybody but one has the clue. You have to place abstractly drawn cards that go with that clue. Then once everyone has placed 2, you have to explain your choices. Some people may just be stuck with terrible cards. The best part of this game is succeeding as the one without the clue. When your story fits perfectly with the cards, it just feels great. It's always due for some laughs. Number 46, Res Arcana. A very fast engine building game where you place cards to get resources, which you use to get more cards and points. It's a race to 10 points, which is when the game ends. The best part of this game is that there is tension at every moment because of how fast it is. Every single decision is super important. Number 45, Thunderstone Quest. This is an epic fantasy deck building game. There's a town side where you buy more cards and items to help you in the other half of the board where you fight monsters for points. The best part of this game is the system that your health is how many cards you draw. If you fight too many times in a row, you're gonna be stuck with only 3 cards in your hand. You can also stall by putting your best card back on top of your deck, which you can save for that perfect turn. Number 44, High Society. The auction game with the highest of stakes, getting kicked out of the high society of France. Your goal is to have the most points at the end of the game, bidding with cash. The best part of this game is the twist. The person who spends the most money is kicked out for being the poorest and is precluded from winning. Number 43, Destinies. An epic, app-driven storytelling game where you're trying to achieve your destiny in a dreary, plague-ridden world. You'll explore the world, talk to people, and fight monsters to achieve your destiny. The best part of this game is having a destiny unique from the other players, so you truly don't know the other's goals or how close they are to achieving them. Number 42, Hadara. A card drafting game with 2 phases. First, you choose 1 card to buy and 1 card to discard in each color. Then you'll buy in turn order from the discarded piles. The best part of this game is that no matter what you do, you'll score a ton of points and it will always feel good. Number 41, Bad Company. You emulate the leader of a gang and activate them through dice rolls to accomplish different heists, outrun the police, and hire newer and badder gang members. My favorite part of this game is the action of rolling 4 dice, then splitting them however you choose. It creates a sense of agency in a dice rolling game. Number 40, Chinatown. The ultimate negotiation game. Your only goal is to gain the most money and populate Chinatown with as large and as many shops as possible. The best part of this game is the negotiation. You can come up with any trades you want, anything goes, and it creates a very fun bartering atmosphere. Number 39, Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria. A worker placement dice drafting game that is all about recruiting the correct monsters to win combats. The best part of this game is balancing the greed puzzle of getting the most points in as little time as possible. You have to end the game at the perfect moment because once someone wins a 7th combat, the game ends immediately. Number 38, Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. The second Azul in the series and the only one on my list. Draft different colors of tiles and place them into your stained glass windows to score the most points possible. The best part of this game is the production and how good the game looks on the table. It's also very easy to teach and to play in a short amount of time. Number 37, Patchwork. A 2-player only game where you're drafting polyomino tiles to weave into your quilt. Weave your quilt efficiently to gain the most amount of buttons. The best part of this game is the way you draft tiles through the pawn. Only the 3 patches in from the pawn are available, and once you take one, that's where the pawn moves. So you're constantly trying to position yourself to get the patches that you want. Number 36. 5 tribes. 5 different colored meeples placed in groups of 3 all around the board. Pick up a group and drop them Mancala style on orthogonally adjacent tiles. Then pick up all of the last color you drop on the tile you end up on. The best part of this game is the constantly changing board to give you a changing strategy throughout the game, and you'll always score a ton of points. Number 35, Just One. An amazing party game for up to 7 players. You all describe a word with a 1-word clue, and one person tries to guess what word you're all describing. There's one twist. If any of you match with each other in your clues, it doesn't get to be shown, and the person guessing the mystery word has to work with what's left over. It's a lot of fun and very easy to play with little stakes and very easy to teach to non-gamers. Number 34, Dinosaur Island, Roll and Write. An absolute blast of a roll and write. You get to design your own dinosaur theme park in under an hour. Will you make a park full of all carnivores and no security? Or will you make a very safe park with lots of attractions? It's completely up to you. The game also has a very fun spatial puzzle going on your sheet. Number 33, Crown of Imara. A very clever Euro game in which you'll play cards to move around one of the 2 boards in a circle. Whichever quadrant you land on is what action you have to take, so choose which board you will move on wisely. The best part of this game is that every turn feels amazing. You'll always get something, whether it's resources or points. Balancing 2 different kinds of points is always something that I love in games. Number 32, Scythe. A big, sprawling, dudes on a map, and surprisingly economic game. You'll be selecting actions on your board to produce mechs to fight opponents, produce resources in your fields, build buildings, and explore the map. This game is an absolute blast at 5 players, and any way you decide to play will be fun. It is quite difficult to get to the table, but when it does, I love it. Number 31, Wingspan. A modern classic game that you will find everywhere. You collect birds and place them down in your tableau to create an engine of actions that will score you a ton of points. Nothing feels better in this game than creating an efficient engine that allows you to get everything that you want. This is one of the best next step games. If you've played Catan or Ticket to Ride enough times, this one should be next. Number 30, Crokinole. This is my favorite dexterity game. You'll flick discs on a board to knock your opponent's discs out and try to score as many points as you can. The beauty of this game is that you can explain it in 5 minutes and play for as long as you want. The games are so quick that you can easily fill that space of 15 minutes you're looking to fill. And if you want to play more, make it a best of 3 or a best of 5. Number 29, Star Realms. The absolute cleanest of deck builders you can possibly have. Play your 5 cards, do damage to your opponent, buy more cards, and repeat. The first one to destroy the other player's base wins. This is another really quick game. It can be taught in 10 minutes and played in another 15 to 20. I will always play this game in a best of 3 format, and it will always feel very satisfying to win. Number 28, Clank, a deck building adventure. A next step deck builder with a dungeon crawling board to move around in. Your cards will give you movement to move around the dungeon, attack power to fight monsters, or buying power for you to get new cards. Your goal is to collect the most treasure with making the least amount of noise as possible. Because the more clank you make, the more the dragon notices you. Number 27, Viticulture. A very heavy and crunchy worker placement game, in which you will be growing grapes, turning them into wine, and aging them in your cellar to sell at the perfect moment. There are so many options each season with so little workers that each and every decision is so important. I absolutely love the wake up track in this game. You can choose to get free stuff or go first. Number 26, Furnace. The auction engine building game that is all about squeezing the most efficiency out of your production buildings as possible. The game plays in less than an hour, and every turn will have you feeling incredibly clever, like you just created the greatest production engine during the Industrial Revolution. And the way you auction off the cards against the other opponents by intentionally losing is really interesting. Number 25, Dominion. This is the grandfather of all deck builders. The game came out in 2008 and still holds up against the most innovative of deck builders. The reason is the same as Star Realms. It's just so clean and works so well. There's 10 cards to buy from, 3 types of coins, and victory point buildings. You'll draw 5 cards a turn and try to build the best deck possible. Number 24, Summoner Wars 2nd Edition. One of my favorite 2-player only games. You'll each pick a faction with totally asymmetric powers. Set them up and use only your deck to battle each other. Your goal is to kill the opponent's summoner before they kill yours. You have perfect information of what's on the board, but it has that randomness and tension that comes from not knowing what your opponent is going to play. It's super thinky and strategic, and an amazing game for competitive friends. Number 23, Dale of Merchants. Another deck building game, but Dale of Merchants is unique in the way that you win. It's a race to complete 8 stalls of animals. Instead of always maximizing your deck, you have a constantly changing and evolving hand of cards that may give you exactly what you want, or the need to adapt. Especially when you play with the Raccoon faction. It's a different kind of puzzle to solve rather than get the most points as possible, which is always nice. Number 22, Everdell. The anthropomorphic world where your goal is to create the best animal civilization in the forest. You'll place workers to gather resources, which you use to purchase cards of animals or buildings. The unique twist in this game is that some buildings allow you to build their corresponding animals for free. Finding those combos always feels great. You will feel smart after playing this game, and the expansions only make it better. Number 21, 7 Wonders. Another modern classic game that will be talked about forever. You'll all draft cards simultaneously, gaining military, science, and culture to compete to be the best civilization possible. This is another example of one of those perfect next step games that just gets you addicted to board games. Immediately after playing this for the first time, I just wanted to play again and try a new strategy. Number 20, Splendor Duel. You'll pick up gems on the board, which gives you permanent jewelry and points, crowns, and a better engine to buy future jewelry. I've played Splendor, but I much prefer Splendor Duel because it's so quick and the drafting of gems is much more interesting to me. I also love how you can win in 3 different ways, and you'll have to try and impede your opponents by taking the cards they want for their strategy. Number 19, Beer and Bread. My second favorite 2-player only game. You'll be competing against your opponent to make the best beer and the best bread possible. You'll have to balance both beer points and bread points because your final score is whichever of these point totals is lower. I love the balance of the point system in this game, and the multi-use cards give you 3 different options on each card. There's so many good things to do and good things to say about this game. Number 18, 7 Wonders Duel. The best 2-player only game on the market. This is the dual version of 7 Wonders, and it does 2 things brilliantly. First, you'll draft cards from a tableau in a way where you'll be revealing new options for your opponent. So you have to balance taking what you want and not giving your opponent what they want. Second, the instant victory through science or military gives the game a perfect amount of tension. This is my most played game I own with over 60 plays. Number 17, Bonanza. The bean farming game where you are trying to become the most profitable bean farmer in the cutthroat industry. Your bean cards will be locked in order that they come, and you're forced to plant the first one at the beginning of your turn. To get around planting the ones that you don't want to, you'll have to trade with the other farmers. The negotiation in this game is top notch. It fixes the problem I have with Catan's negotiation, which is that it's bad to trade for the most part. But the imminent threat of planting a bean that destroys your farm forces negotiation, and trading is always in your favor. Number 16, For Sale. The best party game you can buy for up to 6 players. You'll start with some money which you'll use to bid on property cards auction style. In the second round, you'll be selling your properties in a blind war type system where the highest valued property will sell for the most money dealt onto the table. At the end of the game, you'll tally up all the money your property sold for and your leftover from the auction. The richest one wins. This game is so easy to teach and it has so much replayability. This is the game for your non-gamer friends. Number 15, Spirit Island. This is my only co-op game in the top 50. You and your teammates will take control of a great spirit to protect your island from invaders. I just don't like co-op games, simply because of the alpha gamer problem. Someone will essentially take over the game and make all the decisions for everyone, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too. Spirit Island solves this problem strictly by complexity. This game is a lot to take in. Controlling your spirit alone will take all of your brain power. Instead of alpha gaming, you start communicating how you're supposed to in co-ops, saying what you can do and where you're weak. It's just beautifully done and a great puzzle to solve. Number 14, Terraforming Mars. This is one of the 2 games that got me into the hobby. It was COVID and I was bored at home with my family, so I did some research into some new board games to buy. This looked like one we could play repeatedly. It's an engine building game where we're trying to terraform Mars together, but only one company can do it the best to score the most points. Building an amazing engine always feels great in this game, and the randomness of the cards is what gives it its replayability. I was hooked immediately, trying to maximize my efficiency game after game. Number 13, Lost Ruins of Arnak. Oh boy, this game came out of nowhere for me. A deck building worker placement game where you either use your cards to place a worker onto the board, or you use it for its effect. I usually do a lot of research into a game before I decide it's right for me to buy, but this was a Christmas gift, and I knew about it, but I didn't feel it was right for me to buy. I was wrong. This game is amazing. It scratches all the itches I want in a game. Multiple ways to win, satisfying cards to buy, and a difficult efficiency puzzle. Number 12, It's a Wonderful World. Two of my favorite mechanics are the card drafting of Seven Wonders and engine building. This game does both. You'll draft a card from 7, then pass the rest to the person on your right. Then you'll draft from 6, and so on until everyone has drafted 7 cards. Then you'll choose which of those cards to construct and which to recycle. You'll produce from your already constructed cards to complete the ones you just placed under construction. Do that for 4 rounds and the most points wins. It's just so fast and feels like a big game when it's not. It ends at the perfect moment, so it never outstays its welcome. Number 11, Paladins of the West Kingdom. I've played all of the Garphill games and this is my second favorite. It's a big, crunchy worker placement game. The puzzle of getting the right colored workers to fortify, convert, attack, absolve, garrison, or commission will make your brain melt in such a good way. You'll upgrade your board to make those actions cheaper, and manage your deck of paladins to have the right ability at the right time. You'll always be doing great things and scoring a ton of points. Number 10, Welcome to the Moon. The second roll/flip and write on my list, and this one is my favorite by far. First, let me tell you that there are 8 different modules that you can play in this game, each with different mechanics and rules of how you score. You'll flip over 3 cards and then choose one of the number and action combos. Write that number in a spot on your sheet and do the action. At the end, you'll tally up your points. It's just so easy to teach and it's a very quick game. The complexity comes from within the puzzle of the game. And it has a fantastic production. Number 9, Anachrony. This may be the most thematic Eurogame on my list. We live in a post-apocalyptic world where we have discovered time travel. Now we use that time travel to send ourselves resources from the future. However, to avoid time paradoxes, you'll have to pay those resources off later. Beyond the theme, there is a fantastic worker placement game. You can go to your own underground city with workers, or you can go to the radioactive Earth's surface in a mech suit. Your goal is to efficiently collect resources to score the most points. It's big, it's thinky, it's long, and it's a wonderful experience. Number 8, Space Base. If you are someone who loves Catan, let me introduce to you my better version of Catan. In Space Base, you'll roll 2 dice on your turn, and then you'll decide whether or not you want to take the rewards on your 3 ship, or you can split them into a 1 and a 2 and collect both of those rewards. The best part is, everyone gets to do this on everyone else's turn, so there is 0 downtime. The winner is the first person to reach 40 points, so you don't have to make the most efficient ship, just the one that reaches 40 points first. Number 7, The Dwellings of Eldervale. This is probably the most expensive game on my list. It's huge and the production is amazing. It's one of those games that draws people to your table to say, hey, what game is this? Besides its production value, it has an amazing game behind it too. You pick one of the 8 elements and a faction who uses that element to become the greatest faction to dwell on Eldervale. Within Eldervale, there are big monsters you'll have to kill before dwelling, and you'll have to fight the other factions vying for supremacy. There are so many mechanics to this game, but at its core you are placing workers or units to achieve the most points. Number 6, Ethnos. Despite the ugly and simple look of this game, it's an amazing area control and set collection experience. Your goal is to collect either the same color with different monsters or the same monster with different colors. The bigger your band of monsters is, the more points you'll score. You'll also use these bands to control different areas on the map to score end of round points. This game is very easy to teach and has so much luck baked within it that anyone could win on their first try. My favorite part of this game is that even after an atrocious first round, you can easily come back with a great third round. You're never out of it. Number 5, Cascadia. If I could pick one game to recommend to anyone without knowing anything about their tastes, this would be the game. It is just so simple, clean, puzzly, and satisfying. You pick a pairing of animal and environment tile and place them into your habitat. You do that 20 times, and then at the end, you'll score points for how you configured your animals and your environments. Absolutely anyone can learn this game, especially if you use the easy family variant scoring. With 4 different scoring options for each animal, the replayability in this game is truly incredible. I've played over 30 times with no sign of fatigue. You cannot go wrong with Cascadia. Number 4, Dune Imperium. This is the best implementation of multi-use cards in a deck builder. You can use your cards during your agent turn to place an agent onto the board and gain the rewards of that spot. Or you can use a card during your reveal turn to gain the bonus rewards listed on the bottom. I love everything about this game. The tension of someone taking your spot, the way you need to adapt to your plans getting messed up, the deck building, the player interaction through combat, it's just all so much fun. The game ends when someone reaches 10 points, so getting 1 point feels like such a monstrous victory as you crawl your way to 10 points. Number 3, Role Player. You draft dice to place onto your board to activate powers that manipulate your dice on your board. Your goal is to create the best D&D character with the stats depicted on your starting class card. I honestly don't really know why I love this game so much. It just always has me hooked from turn 1. I go into the game with a strategy based on my power, only to have that completely change by turn 5 because I haven't gotten the right dice. That need for adaptability, implementing the change, and seeing the rewards of change is just so addicting to me. I love that the person who picks the best die to draft will buy from the market last. It's a satisfying puzzle of dice manipulation. Number 2. Imperial Settlers: Empires of the North. This is my favorite game to play at 2 players. I will play it at larger player counts, but at 2 it just sings. Pick a faction for each player, shuffle your deck, and you're ready to go. The game will play in under an hour, and you'll feel like you took your empire from nothing to one of the greatest cartoon civilizations of all time. Every action you take will feel so small as you build up your buildings, but quickly you'll find that you have 10 buildings to activate, 2 pawns to activate and flip, 2 ships to set sail, and buildings of your opponents to raise. You'll feel so clever with the combos that you're able to pull off. It's a race to 25 points, but often you'll score over 50 with endgame scoring, so there's always a comeback chance. I have all the expansion factions for this game and they're all great, but the McKinnons will always be my favorite. Number 1, Raiders of the North Sea. The second Garphill game on my list, and it's my favorite of all time. And it's actually the first game I purchased during COVID. Ultimately, this game is responsible for getting me addicted to the hobby. You play as a Viking leader, recruiting other Vikings to join your ship to go off and raid villages. The best Viking ship to score the most points wins. It's a worker placement game with a small twist that makes all the difference. You place a worker, do that action, then pull off a different worker already on the board to do that action. It's so tiny but so clever and allows you to do so many things in one turn. There are multiple paths to victory, especially once you add in both expansions, which I highly recommend. And it's just an amazing game. I don't believe any game will usurp this one at number 1 for a long time. And there is my top 50 board games of all time. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about all these games behind me. And maybe you found a few that you're gonna try out yourself. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below of your top 10 board games of all time. And until next time, case closed.